from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me, Prashant Agrawal. Prashant, the way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves and tell us a little more about their journey, their background, and what they are currently up to. But just a hint for the audience and kind of a teaser, we're gonna talk about something cool, interesting, which is AI, marketing, and everything in between, and what Prashant is currently doing in that space. So, Prashant, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mehmet, and thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so it's been quite an evolution for me. I started my career in 2000 after my MBA in marketing. Joined joined an Indian FMCG multinational as a brand manager first, and then moved to Dubai in 2004. Over the next 2 decades, spent time building brands across 40 plus countries. This was, if you may call it, the classic FMCG playbook time, right? So TV, print, radio, in-store, eventually digital marketing and e-commerce as well. So while all this was going on, so this was while this was going on, I was first as a CMO at Himalaya Herbals, and then I had my own startup which I co-founded in Switzerland called Swiss Image. So this entire 2 decades period and this launching and building brands over the 40 plus countries was what you might call the classic traditional FMCG playbook, like I said. During this period, if you see, the AI part was really background noise. We used to hear about AI and we used to get intrigued, of course. It was more in the space of, Terminator coming into our lives. We never thought really, that it's going to be really in our lifetimes anything important or relevant for business. Of course, all of this changed with the Chat GPT moment, as it's called now, in late 22, when all of us suddenly said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And when I saw the Chat GPT coming in, and then the rest of the LLMs, like everyone else, I started playing around with them more for fun. Really, still not very sure of what really business value this could have, not have, but it was more out of intrigue, curiosity, more than anything else. But very soon I realized that this is, for me personally, becoming uh, I'm getting more immersed in it with started taking a bunch of courses and reading a bunch of fundamental books on AI, first understanding the fundamentals of how the technology is evolved and developed and what is the technology about, and then eventually starting to get hands-on experience with these AI tools. And more than anything else, trying to figure out that, okay, so this is the job that I've been doing over the last 20-25 years as a marketer. And we keep talking about these tools that have come out and they can do this fantastic things, but are they really able to solve the problems that I have encountered in my business work? So it was more, I'm not a technologist trying to figure out what a tool does as an application. It's more that I'm a marketer who's found technology to solve real life problems as I have encountered them. So that's really where my interest in AI came in, as a business person, as a marketer, more than anything else.
Like a great introduction and a lot of thought-provoking points you shared with us, Prashant, today. And of course, I will try to deep dive as much as possible. Now, you mentioned about when you saw, and I like the way you called it, the Chat GPT moment. Of course, it is the Chat GPT moment, indeed. Um, but things have changed very fast. Like fast forward now, 2025.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 years and a half almost since we saw the first, ChatGPT coming in November 2022. To your point, so from your perspective and being a veteran marketeer, I would say, what do you think the most common misconceptions business leaders have about, implementing AI in their marketing functions? To the point, because, you were talking about how at the beginning you were just discovering and, seeing how what can be done. So if you can shed some light on this point, Prashant.
Sure, sure. You know what has happened also, Mehmet, is that it is the timing of this AI evolution or the start of the Chat GPT moment, and from there on, has been quite serendipitous for me, because this was also the period of time that I was actually transitioning from operational business, operational leadership to consulting and education. So I found myself with this bandwidth to be able to, consult, coach, train. I do teach also marketing at universities as guest lecturer and as a visiting faculty. So I actually, when I started interacting with the business leaders, because I mean, these tools were really blowing my mind away. And, I was saying that, okay, hang on, there's real value here, and I need to make sure that my fraternity also understands this the way, maybe they don't have the bandwidth right now to spend the kind of time and energy that I have put behind it in terms of understanding the fundamentals, but surely they must understand what's going on. So I started talking to these business leaders and marketing leaders and etc, especially in this region. And what I found are there are these recurrent themes of misconceptions, and I'd like to sort of share a few of them. I'm sure that you have your idea of many of, in your interactions. The first one that I would like to share is this whole idea of this spectrum of, two ends. So one end is this thought that it is completely overhyped,
Mhm.
and the other end of that spectrum is this magic button. So people are either at the space saying this is all totally overhyped, and nothing is going to really, we've heard so many things happening and then really nothing changes, or the other extreme where people really feel that AI is almost like a magic button, so I'll press this magic button and suddenly I'll get exponential growth in my business. Now, any of us who's been involved with AI transformation and helping out companies and professionals realize that it's neither of these two. It's actually really very thoughtful integration into your marketing workflows. I mean, the magic is there. The magic is the exponential benefits are possible, but it requires thoughtful integration into your marketing workflows. There is no magic button. So it needs to be really implemented properly. So that's the first one that I would like to put out there, which I think still exists. It's reducing, but it still exists. The other one is that most people really feel that these AI tools and AI is all about cost cutting. So, so we'll implement AI, we'll get cost benefits. Yes, this is definitely about bringing cost efficiency, but I think we are missing the point here, especially in the marketing function, if we are really thinking of it only as a cost cutting tool. It is more about being able to improve dramatically your quality of work in the marketing space, about your understanding of your consumers dramatically. You can get exponential benefits. There are so many ideas that marketing people have, but they don't have the bandwidth to take all of them to a reasonable point to evaluate. This allows you that ability to go after many more ideas than what you previously could pursue, because to take it from 0 to 60-70% where you can make sense of an idea, it required earlier too much effort. Now with these tools you can take it to that point where you can actually give it a serious evaluation before you decide what's really right for your business. So that's another one, cost cutting versus value addition. The other, I find another one very interesting is that when I speak to some leaders, so everybody follows media. I mean, you can't today go through a news day on any news website or a news channel or open your social media feed without having something on AI. Every day there is some news on AI. That's the nature of the beast today. So you keep hearing these buzzwords, right? So sometimes it's AI, sometimes it's ML, sometimes it's AGI, sometimes it's generative AI. uh, So everybody keeps hearing these buzzwords, and that's what they're chasing. So I want to implement AGI. I mean, we don't even understand, as many of these people don't understand what these terms mean. But that's what they're chasing, and I would really, what I really recommend to my clients and friends and professionals who I interact with, don't get swept by these buzzwords. Think about what your problems are. Where are you finding friction in your existing workflow? Let the technology give you the benefit rather than the technology defining what you're going to change. So that's another one which I find that interesting. One is this whole fear about job loss, right? So all AI is going to come in and replace all the managers. So there are not going to be any managers. So I really don't know what's going to happen in the next 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, it's very, very difficult for any of us to make any predictions. I can really come to this conclusion, as I have in the last a few months, years, is that what Rob Thomas said is probably the most accurate in this, is that AI is not going to replace managers, but managers who know how to use AI are definitely going to replace managers who don't. So I totally believe in this now. That this is something which over the next 2, 3 years, everybody will have to learn, everybody will have to operate with, because it's going to become part of every single industry. It's going to become a part of every single function, whether we like it or not.
Prashant, what you mentioned resonates a lot, with what I see on day-to-day basis, what I hear from different people, of course. And no surprise for me, because you mentioned about uh, people who also are not understanding exactly what's going on, which I can't blame them at the same time,
Sure,
because
sure.
honestly, like even for me as someone coming from a technology background, uh, I put myself in the foot of someone who is not from a technology background, right? And I try to grasp this amount of information and the amount of changes also as well that's happening. To your point, the key thing which attracted me is about people trying to find use cases, rather than trying to see what are the real problems and see, okay, what are the possible solution for that problem today,
Right.
which is I believe it's something, it's like growing pains, we call it, like in the world of startups, because we're still in the early days, but early days are passing very fast also as well. And
Yes.
like no other time before, Prashant, seriously, like I've been in tech almost all my career for 20 plus years now. Every day there is something new, right? And in the marketing space, we're seeing like some massive amount of tools coming every day, right? So based on your experience, um, what are like really some of the tools or the platform that you think they are really effective in streamlining marketing operations, or maybe they can be beneficial, or maybe something you've seen recently, you use it recently and you think it has a huge potential also as well.
Yeah, this tools question is a very, very difficult one. There is almost every single day. You are part of this industry, Mehmet, and you are a technologist. I am a marketer. I mean, I'm trying very difficult, but very, very, yeah, I'm finding it very, very difficult to keep up with, with the tools that are coming out every day. But I must tell you, a small side story on this is I was watching about a year back, almost, maybe about 6 months back, an interview of Van Jones. He's the U.S. Democratic Party strategist, comes very often on CNN, and he's
Yeah.
interviewed a lot about politics. I'm not sure if some of your listeners have looked at him. I was listening to an interview of him, and he mentioned something very interesting. So he said, to take over the world, all you need now is Chat GPT and Mrs. G. And the interviewer said, okay, what is Mrs. G? So he says Mid Journey, Runway, Suno, and Gamma. So so with Chat GPT and Mrs. G, you can really take over the world. And I found that quite interesting, and I use it a lot now in my conversations, where I say that as a marketing person, uh, I find that I just expanded that Mrs. G a little bit to Mrs. Peg, where I say Mid Journey, Runway, Suno, Perplexity, 11 Labs, and Gamma, besides Chat GPT or Claude or one of the LLMs, and this. Everybody will have their own preferences of tools, I always feel, but I mean, to me, these are the tools which I use most often, and then I found the maximum value out of. Just a disclaimer: I don't get any commercial benefit by promoting any of these names, so they're just what I use. I am not commercially associated with any of them, except as a user.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point, yeah, no one is affiliated. But see, look, like I think these AI tools became same thing. Like when I remember when the first new generation of browsers started to appear. Hey, go use Chrome, go use Firefox, right? So it's the same thing, and I think it will be personal preference maybe at the end which
Yes,
AI platform or tool they're gonna use. Same thing happened also when the smartphones started to appear. Like, hey, go
true.
use Android, go use iOS, and so on and so forth. So definitely, and I like this, like, but by the way, that I think the list gonna keep growing
Yeah,
with time.
yeah,
I'm not seeing any soon. We're gonna have some consolidation because now it became kind of a mandate, I think, on these companies because back to basics, and this is maybe audience who are familiar with like how people go from the zero to one thing and people who want to grab the market as much as possible. So you need to keep your audience with you as much as possible. So social media folks, and maybe Prashant, this better than me, they try to keep you within the application. They will put anything in the algorithm to keep you there. And they will even demote you sharing something that would take the audience outside. So I think the AI tools and platforms, they are trying to play this. I'm not sure what some of these AI tools would do. I mean, the ones which are like a little bit old in the market, which by the way, they were before ChatGPT, they were using OpenAI API, funny enough,
yeah,
like the Jaspers of the world and the
yeah.
writers of the world, right? So I was lucky to I felt that something is coming when I start to see the Jaspers and these AI tools. And still people didn't. I knew of course about OpenAI, and I knew somehow they're wrapping the API over there. But yeah, the tools are going more and more. But now, and I'm just like adding something, maybe your point of view. So Prashant, when it comes to something which are the advanced features we're looking into these tools, I want to stop on the tools a little bit here
Sure.
more. Um, so we're starting to see something which never been there before. Let's take again, we're not affiliated, neither you or me. Let's take, for example, Perplexity, right?
Yeah.
So Perplexity has the deep search function, which is it's not
Yes.
they didn't invent it, but I'm talking about it's
Yes.
quite
I
good.
mean, correct. Yes,
Or
absolutely.
Grok, same thing, the
Wrong.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk's one. Now, from a marketeer perspective, like this deep search, and the thinking capabilities, what it means for me as a marketeer.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, it's a fantastic one because see, what earlier was happening was if you were using LLMs, you were essentially, what you were not able to rely on while it was being able to, give you language, it was not being able to think deeply on a particular subject, right? So, what the game has changed probably in the last, probably as recent as 3 to 6 months. If you, I mean, you're the technologist, so you'll know probably this more better than me, but what I can see as a user is that in the last 3 months or so, or 4 months or so, the game has changed a lot towards bringing in the thinking feature into these. And that's essentially what's happening because of that is that if I have a complex marketing issue, earlier what would happen is that I'd start working with the LLM, and what I would be able to rely on the LLM for was to construct language around a particular idea rather than think deeply and almost like a thought partner battle with me in terms of the process. What is the reasoning behind a particular approach or not? And we were, I mean, many of us were really using the prompt engineering, like chain of thought reasoning pattern to sort of get the LLM actually to think a little bit more before responding. But with these reasoning models which have come out, and you're so right about this, the models, I mean, look at what's happened just in 2025. I mean, we started the year with this big bang of DeepSeek, and then you've Grok 3, and then you've Claude 3.7, and I mean, it's extremely difficult now. It's almost like a race happening every week for a new model from one of the guys to come out, and then that's better than the other one. So the way I, as a marketer, use this is essentially when I have a marketing problem and I have a thinking issue, I actually create a prompt and I put it across on all the three or four main LLMs that I use. I see the kind of responses, and I do this a few times. Okay, so not just with one prompt. I do this maybe 2 3 times with different prompts. I see the kind of output I'm getting. If I'm finding one particular LLM giving me better reasoning, better thinking process on a particular topic, then I actually end up using that for that particular marketing problem than the other one. So this is probably how we are making the most sense of it as a marketing user. In terms of the improvement on these. You spoke about perplexity. It's amazing. Today, if you want to make a very detailed report, see what would happen earlier is if I had to do research, typical start point would be Google, right? I mean, you Google something and you start getting some data and inputs in, and then you had to click on these different links, and then now you can actually pretty much from zero. So I had a very interesting case which I was discussing with somebody in the US, where they were looking at expanding retail. They have a business in uh, automotive repair and maintenance, and they're looking at locations, or how to decide on locations on this. And this was a friend actually, so I was almost sort of trying to explain to this person how to use AI and this. And I have absolutely no understanding of the automotive maintenance retail store market in the US. And we sat together on Perplexity, and we started out from zeros, building slowly the thing. And by the end of it, this person who is from that industry, he said, "It's amazing. I'm in this industry sitting to do this kind of work, and I'm doing this alongside a person who actually has not much of an understanding of that region's business. But because I understand how to prompt the AI, we in few minutes, or in half an hour, we were able to reach something which this person found of immense value in the presentation that that person was going to make to the board."
Right. So, Prashant, on this point, like it's like kind of philosophical, I would say, for me. Um, I think the first phase of knowledge sharing was the internet, of course, and
Sure.
Google came. Of course, there were like search engines before, but their way of organizing the internet
Data
data,
was not, yeah.
right? But now, because you just mentioned this, and I was thinking, this is why like it took me like a couple of seconds thinking about what you just mentioned. Like how abundant is knowledge now with these LLM tools, right? So imagine, and the nice thing, you don't have to read. Again, like this is this philosophical discussion, because imagine now, because even you can ask Perplexity, Grok, even ChatGPT. They gave the OpenAI, they give the access for their deep search reasoning also as well. And the nice thing, you don't even have to read. You can listen to it, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. Now with the voice enabled features, I mean, you don't even need to read.
yeah, it's so it's fantastic. Now, coming back to reality, um, from your perspective, you've done this as a practitioner, you've done this as an educator. What do you think? Let's say I'm new to this field, or maybe I've been some time. So, what are like the new, I would say, skills, critical skills that I need to develop to make sure that I'm working effectively with these AI systems and tools?
Oh yeah, this is Mehmet, is something which anybody who is in the, I mean, why only people who are like me in the education consulting field, or I mean any of us who are involved with the next generation, whether as parents, whether as seniors in a family, trying to guide the younger generation on what they should be skilling up on. Because I mean, what this reminds me is a quote from one of these Nobel laureates, right? Niels Bohr, if I'm not wrong, who said that uh, uh, prediction is very difficult, especially about the future. right? So so essentially what you're saying right now is we are looking to the future and trying to identify what are these skills that probably people will require over the next few years. Very difficult to predict what will be required in the next, again, in the 10, 15, 20 years, but what you require now today, and even that is something which I'm not sure that a lot of people are paying attention to, and they must, is what I would call data literacy. You
Hmm.
don't need to be a data scientist. No, nobody is asking you to become a data scientist overnight, but you need to understand data. Because a lot of this value that we can generate from these tools comes from the kind of data that we provide it, the kind of information that we are wanting analyzed. Why are we wanting that analyzed? So having a sense of some kind of data literacy, to be able to question insight. So if AI throws something at you, you can't just take it at face value. You should be able to question that data point, and you should be able to, interpret that in a certain way. So that kind of data literacy is something which I feel is a critical skill going forward. One thing which has emerged definitely in terms of usage of AI tools, and I feel that everybody will be using AI tools sooner than later, is what I call prompt engineering competence. So there is a way to deal with AI systems. So when I work on a chat GPT, you may be having a chat GPT, I may be having a chat GPT, and I've had these conversations with multiple clients, multiple people, professionals. They say, but I also use chat GPT. My chat GPT doesn't give me the same kind of response that your chat GPT gives. I said, the model is the same. It's not that I'm using some different model and you're using a different model. There is a way to prompt and play and guide the AI model in a certain way to be able to generate the best value out of it. So I think more and more what will sort of discriminate between somebody who's good at this job and not good at the job is going to be the ability to deal with these AI systems and to be able to guide the AI system towards the kind of output that we're looking for. One very other important thing I really feel is, you spoke about knowledge, right? So knowledge is becoming abundant, it's becoming cheap, it's becoming available. It's no longer about knowledge. It's about, or even not even about problem solutions. I mean, we are now talking about, you give a problem, you'll get a solution, probably, again, sooner than later. It's about figuring out what problems to solve, right? So as a business person, if I'm not clear, I can keep throwing problems at the AI tool, and lo and behold, it will keep solving it. But it will, if there was information overload earlier, in we used to speak about information overload earlier, we are going to have solution overload now, where you have so many solutions, but you don't know why did you ask for so many solutions. Was it really important for your business? Have you taken the effort of identifying the problems that you want to solve or you must solve, and addressing those through the AI solutions, rather than just because the AI solution. Very interesting side note again. I often mention, we try and compare. We have this habit of anthropomorphizing AI, right? So we try and talk to it like a human, and we start imagining it like a human. There's one big difference between AI and a human. After a point, a human will tell you no. I mean, whoever it is, it's your assistant, it's your colleague, it's your supplier. AI doesn't know how to say no. So it will keep answering whatever you keep asking. It will just keep answering that, right? And only you will be left with all this information overload to sort through. So, so the again, very important skill now is to actually being able to identify the problems to solve, and then use the AI tool to actually solve those problems.
Right. Now, you mentioned something, Prashant, about people a couple of times, and I've seen it, by the way, but maybe you can shed some light. And this is for maybe the leaders, I would say, this question.
Sure.
Uh, because what you mentioned at the very beginning about, like, some people, they think it's super hype, and some people, they have also their doubts also as well. So we see companies, getting this dilemma of implementing. By the way, it's not only for the AI, it happens for all the
It
technology,
happens for all technical. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Any new thing comes and.
Yes. So, but now for the AI specifically, it's a journey. They're gonna start from somewhere. What do you think would be the right approach to take so they can, strategically, you know, future-proof their team? That, hey
Right.
guys, look, I understand you're afraid maybe that this is gonna take your place. Maybe you are thinking it doesn't do a great job, whatever it is. So, what do you think the leaders strategically should do so their organization is really protected in the future? Because I think you would agree with me, Prashant, that I don't imagine a future without these technologies implemented.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Mehmet. AI is going to come in into every industry, every function, whether we like it or not. Some companies are going to be early adopters, get the benefit of it faster than their competitors. The others are going to be laggards. It's always the case. Sorry about that. Any new technology, any new thing which comes, there are people who are early adopters. They get some additional benefits versus the competition, and eventually the technology, if it is like Andrew Ng says, AI is the new electricity. So we don't think about electricity. It's not equal to the internet. So people think of AI as the internet, where internet came in and then it's not that. It's actually electricity. So we don't think about electricity. Electricity runs the entire world right now, and we don't think about it. And AI is going to be like that. AI is going to run everything in the background, and we will not even talk about it. So it's going to be one of those kind of things. So if it is going to come in and it's going to come in and pervade every single function and every single industry, you're absolutely right that sooner or later everybody will have to implement. And what probably are the ways to overcome this initial inertia, resistance, whatever you want to call it, misconceptions. One of the classic playbook modules that I have on this is pick up one case. Don't try and revolutionize your marketing department overnight by saying, "Oh, we are going to just have a totally different workflow process than what we used to earlier have." And I'm saying marketing because I personally deal more in marketing space, but it is true probably for any function that you start implementing AI in, is that don't try and revolutionize overnight, uh, you know, pump in $500,000 into completely revamping without even starting. Don't do that. My recommendation always is start from a simple use case where you get a quick win. So you start, see, nothing succeeds like success. So you get those quick wins, you will start having those naysayers, whether they are people who are trying to put down the technology by saying, "Oh, it doesn't do anything," or there are people who are afraid of it or whatever. Once you start using it and you start getting the wins in your day-to-day workflow, is when the buy-in is much easier. So it's one of the ways to bring in change in an organization, is actually to start small, create one use case which is important to you but is not everything, and probably you will get a quick win in it. And therefore, this the other very important one I feel, which is not being looked at very carefully right now, is get your people into training. People right now are still, companies are not spending enough time and energy at a company level. So there are individuals who are always interested in learning and trying to figure out, sometimes half baked stuff, sometimes some stuff which is not real. Like I said, there are enough people out there in the social media today claiming to be experts, and giving some wrong directions to people. So organize proper training workshops with people who are from the industry. There are people who are technology experts, who are business experts, who can be brought in. Organize simple training programs, get your people started. Do that as an exercise, in a company. It will go a long way in making sure that, because see, the people who are in the business, I've been a business person for 22, 23 years, right? So people who are in business, they have what we call as institutional knowledge. You can't have software tools replace anything of this. You need to augment. You need to start changing your mindset from replacement to augmentation, saying that, how do I make sure that if I had a guy who understands this particular space so well but is overwhelmed with the kind of work that this person has, I want to improve their bandwidth by providing them this support of the AI tools. Let me augment some of the repetitive tasks, some of the tasks which are easier for the AI to do than for the human beings. So that's my playbook, really saying start small, pick up one use case, go after it in a nice way, probably give yourself 90 days to implement it and get your quick win. Hire people. It's not very expensive. You can get people to train your entire teams in a few $1,000s. It's not something which is really expensive. Get that going. Engage more on an ongoing basis. Continuous learning is, I mean, AI is changing so fast that it's not about doing it once. It's about actually starting the continuous learning process somewhere. So that's my
Right.
take.
Absolutely. And I always tell people what you're missing, right, is going to any of these LLM tools. For me, it's not about ChatGPT, honestly, I mean, anymore. I think, I use them as equal, in time perspective and the amount of time I use. But of course, ChatGPT was my first encounter, let's say, with these LLM tools. So I say to people, the thing that you're missing is going and brainstorming with these LLM tools. If you try once, instead of saying, hey, even if you give, by the way, the right prompt, hey, ChatGPT, like act as a experienced marketeer in this niche. Uh, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. So I need, for example, I don't know, a post for LinkedIn. Okay, it gonna still kind of, give you something. But what I discovered, like if you make kind of a conversation first, because the more data you feed, so actually, and back to your point of understanding the T model and
Absolutely, absolutely. So what you just mentioned is actually a very important technique to deal with AI. I mean, it might be useful for your listeners, so I'm just going to put it out there. It's called the few shots example. Basically, you are giving the LLM examples of what kind of tone, what kind of language that you want. So you're not just leaving it out there. Every brand has a brand voice, every brand has a brand personality. So if you try and, so let's say, for example, I tell LLM and I give it the persona pattern, like you mentioned about giving it some kind of, saying, oh, you are an expert in, in marketing and or creative development, etc. And I ask it to develop, let's say, 5 slogans for an ad. The kind of output that you will see from that versus if you, one, provide examples to it saying that, okay, this is the kind of stuff that we do on this brand, and now I want to think about new examples. It will completely change the kind of output that you will get. The second, I think, which you've mentioned, a very very important point, and thank you for bringing it up because I missed it, is this whole iterative part. So I didn't mention it enough. You mentioned it very correctly, saying that it's about the conversation. It's not about one time output. So don't take the single output that you get once and say that, oh, this is the final. So one prompt, one output, that's not the way to work with them. You get an output, you put your input into it, then you get the next output. Then you put your input into it, you get the next output very very quickly, because that's what we used to do in without the tools as well, right? When we're sitting in a when we're sitting in a room and doing brainstorming, we don't look at the first idea and say, okay, done, let's go and start executing this idea. We do it iteratively. We come up with some ideas, then we say, okay, but somebody else adds something to it, then we refine that idea, then we go back and again, change the idea a little bit. Think of the AI tool as one of the participants in that brainstorming exercise, and suddenly you will see the value that is completely changing. So thank you for bringing that up, Mehmet. Very very important point over there.
yeah. So just the matter of sharing also something with the audience. So the reason, it's not like because I was smart enough to discover it this way, because when the first time OpenAI decided to open ChatGPT for everyone, so I was like kind of little bit, I would say, let's see. And my computer scientist or engineer brain was saying, okay, let's go back to the Turing test and just
Yeah,
try to find out like how good it is, right?
yeah,
And it didn't take me more than 2 to 3 minutes, because after a couple of in and out with ChatGPT at that time, I said, okay, yeah, I shouldn't have been like that, you know, uh, kind of looking at in
Yeah,
a like a little bit doubting way. And I said, no, these guys are up to something. It's not like yet another one of these famous, chatbots that were coming. So
correct.
100%.
Correct.
Right. Now, Prashant, like as we almost coming to an end. So, and almost like we finished 3 months in 2025, right? So, what are like some of the developments and breakthroughs that you are excited about?
The latest ones that you see coming out now. See, I believe one of the things which I've been at least hearing, and again, you are the technologist, you can probably add to your to this from your perspective. What I've been seeing is this idea of shifting from uh, question answers, or a chatbot kind of a scenario, to what we would call agentic behavior. And I'm being very careful using a buzzword agentic, because I have heard this being thrown around. But I'm not using it honestly like a buzzword. I'm using it more from a very practical point of view, saying that is it something which, where I can automate certain tasks to the AI, which currently was not possible. So I was currently doing it more like a chatbot. But if I can get AI to actually do step one, trigger the next action, and trigger the third action, and then come back and report to me, and close the loop in that way, as a marketer, that's tremendous value. So I'm sort of looking forward, because a lot of talk is happening about, every of these major companies is right now going full steam on the agentic AI space. So I'm quite excited about this year, something on that front that we will probably see. Uh, One thing which I really feel has not happened enough, and we touched upon this a little bit in our conversation, is on the hallucination front. So a lot has happened. I must say that the technology has evolved dramatically from where we were 1.5 years back, where really one was struggling with hallucinations. Every single prompt, every single task that you would give the AI, today it's dramatically improved. But if you ask me, I'm still, as a user, I'm still hopeful that we will get further dramatic breakthrough on this, because till the time that happens, see, business is about reliability. It's not just about output, right? It's also how reliable that output is. So when I have a team, I'm asking for input from people. There are people in the team, they know their stuff, and when they're saying something, because it's impossible for you to go out and check every single thing of them. So we keep warning people when they're using AI that please check AI's output because it can hallucinate. We keep saying this as a disclaimer, but really, in terms of usage, uh, the trust and the reliability from business would come in a lot if the companies which are working behind this are able to further do good work on this, and improve the software and the back end enough, in terms of the whether it's the number of billion parameters that they are trained on, or whether it's faster chips, or whatever goes behind under the hood to get these models to be more reliable. So I'm sort of looking forward to that in 2025.
Right. So just because you asked me from my technology, aspect, agentic AI or AI agents, as people likes to call them, I think, and I was lucky enough to predict that this will be the next wave, even in 2023. By the way, because I was following multiple open source projects trying. So their aim was trying to let couple of LLMs talk to each others, and this is where the whole idea come up from. But of course, we saw like breakthroughs, and I'm believing we're gonna see more breakthroughs in that domain. And it's going in parallel with what some people are calling, we are very close to AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is like meaning a machine can have the same intelligence as a human.
Right.
We're close. I believe we are close also as well. I believe we are close.
Yeah.
And for the hallucinations, so I think a lot of things happen, but I think, yeah, to your point, there is a lot of breakthroughs expected. So the first, it's so this is the nice thing about the AI. It was deployed, people immediately, the people who deployed it, and I mean by OpenAI and Google and Anthropic and all these companies, they figured out fast that yeah, so there's a problem with hallucination. So they start implementing the trivial augmented reality, so this is the what they call it, RAG. So RAG,
Retrieval
which is
augmented generation, correct? I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what we're talking.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, it's a triple augmented generation. So which is make sure that the LLM, whatever it spit out, it's also like checked for true
Right.
fact, right? But again, we're going into spaces which even me as a technologist, like now, and it's funny enough, I remember when I started the podcast, ChatGPT just came a couple of weeks ago, right? So not many people still knew about it. And when I asked one of my guests, hey, like, what's your expectation in this field in the next decade? Imagine I'm asking next decade. Now
Right.
I don't dare to ask more than 6 months.
Correct. Absolutely. I mean, today to actually track everyday news on AI, because you have one model coming out and it claims to be the best, and it is the best, and because people check it, and in 5 days time you have a better model from another company coming out which is better than this one. So you're absolutely right that to imagine something beyond 6 months today is really I don't know how to even do that.
Yeah, some people, the skeptics ones, of course, they say, yeah, but like a lot of companies appeared and disappeared very fast. I say, this is good. This is not
Yeah.
bad because
Yeah.
what made Silicon Valley good, some people they agree, some people they don't agree, you know, fail often fail fast, right? So you have to
Yeah.
fail very fast.
Yeah.
And we saw the example of this human, the pin thing that
Yeah.
HP bought them. I said, okay, so what's wrong? These guys
What's wrong?
tried,
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Absolutely.
And we are living in the AI age, which everything should happen fast. So either we have a fast what I call it validation of ideas. Why we need to wait 2 3 years until we understand like, if something gonna work or not? We should understand
Right.
much faster than this. But anyway,
Right.
this is a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
Prashant, I really enjoyed the discussion. Before I let you go, I want you to share with the audience where they can get in touch and find about what you do.
So thank you very much. Remember, that was a very interesting conversation for me as well. I mean, I like I said, I'm a marketeer who looks as tools as solving real world business problems. You are sitting on the other side of the table as a technologist who's helping us get these different tools through your career in technology. I think it's a beautiful conversation because the more we understand each other, I think the better it is for the kind of output, the kind of real world value that gets generated, because we need to understand what are the technological
Absolutely.
limitations. As marketers, as users, we can't expect the tools to do everything for us. We need to understand that it is evolving, and we need to start making use of the current capabilities of that the technologists like yourselves have provided us. And similarly at your end, maybe hearing out from a user, and a marketer, that what really are we valuing, what are we looking at, because we need to solve those real world business problems to using these tools. So great, amazing experience talking to you as well. Really enjoyed it. People can, the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So maybe if you can, I don't know if you have my LinkedIn ticker there, just put my LinkedIn profile there, and then that's the best way for people to reach out to me. Drop me a DM. I come back very very quick. I'm quite responsive that way. So uh, please drop in your line, and I would be very happy to engage with any of your listeners.
Great. Thank you very much, Prashant. And yes, as you said, I will make sure that the link to your LinkedIn profile will be available in the show notes. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, you will find that in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will find it in the description area. Again, Prashant, I really enjoyed the discussion with you and it was very beneficial. I learned also a lot of insights from you also as well. And this is how usually I end my episodes. This is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, give us a thumb up, subscribe, and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the loyal fans who keep coming again and again, thank you for doing so. And thank you for all the support that you have provided to the CTO show very recently, as I'm sharing in the recent episodes. You helped the CTO show to really go to the next phase of success, having the podcast, you know, trending in multiple countries at the same time in the top 200 charts. So this is have been unseen before. Also for having the CTO show with Mehmet listed as one of the top 40 most listened business podcasts in Dubai by FeedSpot. So thank you very much for your support, and I really appreciate all your suggestions, questions, and any uh, thing that you sent to me. So I really appreciate it. And then again, as I say always, stay tuned for a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.